Okie dokie. So we're going to do a sort of, it's not going to be, excuse me, super comprehensive, but a kind of fast and dirty um, budgeting sort of discussion here. I looked up a lot of just sort of averages, and the maths are going to be, I mean, it's not going to be 100% pinpoint accurate about everything. Again, I'm using averages, a few places I'm rounding and other things like that. But this is just to give a general overview, a general sort of idea of budgets and kind of what you got to work with and what you start thinking about in terms of what you really need versus what you want, which is a huge thing to know the difference of. And then being able to know, okay, what's kind of worth it to do this, what's kind of worth it to that. Am I going to need, a roommate? Can I do this on my own? All this other stuff like that. So this is going to be just sort of a way to get people to think about that. I used to kind of run this group on some I sort of made up numbers to a certain extent. But now I sort of looked up some averages and things along those lines. So we're going to use basically being, in Cleveland, Ohio as the sort of baseline. So, Ohio State sort of taxes, Cuyahoga County, Cleveland sort of city taxes, and all this other stuff. We're going to kind of just go with that for just the sort of baseline. It's easier physically in Cleveland, the that sort of thing. Just kind of use that as baseline sort of thing. Um, did I see? I saw something that was like Cleveland, or was it Cleveland or Ohio? I think, oh, Ohio has, I guess, the 13th highest rate in the nation in terms of utilities. And that's, again, that's just average. So they're getting people who are super, super rich and the people who are really, really poor and everything else in between and finding the average of this. So that's what some of that is. So, the also stuff you got to think about. If you're going to stay living in the state or country that you're in, if you want to go somewhere else, quality of living, cost of living. It's more expensive cost of living if I get the exact same technically apartment in Westlake, Ohio. It's going to be much more expensive than if I got it just closer to where I live in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to be more expensive because the cost of living in Westlake, that suburb, is going to be higher than some of the more urban areas of Cleveland. Even areas of Cleveland, it's got what we call sort of almost gentrification. So some places, some neighborhoods are going to be, it's going to cost you more to live there than maybe even a couple blocks away, for similar things. Just because you're closer to this thing that people want to be at, it's going to cost more. So all that stuff you got to think about. So we're going to go with the idea, let's see, so minimum wage right now is 8.55 an hour. On average, sort of average with some sort of things. Um, it's not really even technically that much of a livable wage, but we're actually going to go with 10.98 an hour. So, and I'm using being 18 years old as the sort of average with this too, and that's going to come into a couple points with this as well. So if we go, some of this I'm going to just erase, but I'm just putting on there now so some people can see it. So I'm going to use, if we do, can you get there? Okay, so 10.98 an hour. Now, I'm going to say that we're not going to have to worry about school or college. I'm taking out school, I'm taking out college. You're an 18-year-old, you just graduated high school, you're not in college right now. It's just I'm purely working this job now. Now, 40 hours is usually what's assumed to be full time. I mean, that's kind of the max that you're kind of allowed to hit. There are a lot of places that will consider you full time with less hours. When I was working more retail, some of it was going to be like 35 to 37. I read one thing earlier that said 32 to 40 is going to be full time. I'm going to kind of split the difference. because a lot of places, stores, restaurants, these other things, they don't want to, they're going to cut costs and save money, and one of the first ways they're going to do that is on the backs of the workers. You know what? You complain about it, they'll be like, I'll fire you, pay someone less who's just going to come in and do what I want them to do without knowing any better, or they just think that this is the culture it is. They're not going to complain. I'm still going to get the work out of them, and I don't have to deal with you being a problem. So also things you got to think about with stuff like that. You got to know your circumstances of who you can say to and what. So we're going to go with 35 hours a week, just sort of um, 35 hours a week. So we're just kind of going to use that as the baseline. Now, that is going to mean, and again, if there are any like hardcore math people who are checking any all this other stuff, again, it's not going to be super exact. But that's going to mean that for 35 hours a week, 1098, you're going to get about 384.30 a week, which translates into about 1,537.20 a month, which also translates further into 18,446.40 a year. Now, I hope no one is getting excited about these numbers, because these are not wonderful numbers to get excited about unless this is like your second job or something along those lines. And also remember that there's the difference between gross versus net pay. The difference is gross pay is this. This is your gross pay for year with, the 35 hours at this thing. That's just what you get in terms of numbers. Your net pay is what you take home. So what gets caught in the net that doesn't get wrapped up in now taxes. So your federal, now not everywhere in the country is going to be the same with this, but for here and now, you have federal taxes, you have state taxes, you have city taxes. Now we're going to make this again easier on me because I've had to do this doing my taxes and I hated doing this. So we're going to make this easy on me and say you live and work in the same city. Again, something else to think about. If you are working in one city but living in another, they're going to take out city taxes of where you're working. If you're lucky, when you do your taxes at the year and you pay your city taxes, they'll take some of what you pay in the city that you work in into account. But you're still more than likely than not going to have to pay additional city taxes to the city you live in if you work and live in two different places. Now again, if you're lucky, they'll take some of that into account. But you can probably bet it's not going to be 100%. So you're still probably going to have to owe if you live and work in different places. So gross is the big number that you get before taxes. So you have federal, state, local, Social Security, and Medicare. I'm not going to take in other insurance, because some places might take out insurance where you work out. Some places might take out money for if you sign up for any sort of retirement stuff, IRAs, or anything along those lines. I'm skipping all of that right now. Again, I'm just sort of making this just sort of fast and dirty easier for me. So let's see. Federal, do I have room? Where do I have room? So let's see. Federal now with the federal taxes, something to think about is that there's different tiers. So this is going to be one tier. If you make 180,000, you're going to be at a different tier. So your tax rate is going to be higher. If your tax rate's any higher than that, you probably find ways to loophole at it and not paying a lot of taxes because that's how things work, unfortunately. But for us, Those who are making this or twice that or even three times that or something like that or around then, you're not getting out of it. You don't warrant the special treatment sort of thing. So federal is going to be about, oops, doing too many different things here, is going to be about, what I got, 12%. Again, if you guys know any better or different, just be cool. Again, this is just to illustrate. Uh, State tax for Ohio, 2.5%. Cleveland is 0.25%. Now, it doesn't seem like much. Social Security is at 6.2%, and Medicare 1.45%. So you add that up to all that, you're starting to get in, was that 2240? 14 and 5, 1475, and 765. Yeah, it's like 2240. So that this alone, just your taxes, federal, state, local, Social Security, and Medicare, just that alone is roughly a quarter of your money. So when you see I'm making $18,000 a year, no, you're not. Take a quarter out of that initially, just about, and that is going to be closer to what you're taking home a year. Now, I find for me, if this is for me, I find it's kind of good to, okay, well, if, say something might be, I need something is $185. For me, in my head, in my budget, if I write anything down or even in my head, I write it off to me as just being $200. So if it's like, all right, well, if I got to take my car in to get looked at, if that's going to be $185 to take my car in, then I just write off in my head $200 right there. This isn't the day we don't have, most people aren't going to have actually checkbooks where you have to balance your checkbooks as you go, which wasn't that hard. But you can look up stuff online and see it a little bit more real time. So your banks might have it where, yeah, you can look up that stuff online. I would not do that if I still had a checkbook. I wouldn't overblow it in the checkbook because I want my checkbook to balance with the bank statement that I would get sent to me. It's called balancing your checkbook, making sure those things jive and find out if they don't, where and why. Sometimes that might be good for you. Sometimes it might be like, oh crap, I forgot about this. Or if you have a household of people, oh, so and so bought this or paid this off. I needed to know that, but now I don't, and scrambling. But so for me, just in my head, I round up, and that helps kind of keep me in check of when I want to go and get other stuff. Okay, so this is kind of what we're working with as the baseline. What I'm going to mostly use here is the monthly. So the 15, 37, 20 a month is pretty much what I'm going to use for the rest of this. Now, there's a couple things that I want to let you know too. I'm using renting. So it's going to be different. There's different stuff in mortgages. Now, the renting game here is all over the dang place. And again, so I'm just using sort of averages. So some of the averages are going to be skewed because, again, someone who might be getting a one bedroom sort of apartment of some size, but they're living, off of Detroit Road in Westlake is going to be paying, $1,200, $1,500 a month. That same apartment on, Franklin and West 75th behind the St. Augustine Medical Center might be 700 a month, 600 a month, something along those lines. But it's just because those different things, and those things will kind of skew where the average is. So I'm just using sort of averages and things like that. So we're going to use that as the base here. So I can swap out this. Oh, so just to, I forgot I did this too, just to mess with you a little bit more. I remember I've done this group for kids in the past, and again, just was very kind with how I just sort of rounded down things, um, and all that. And but I would switch markers, and all of a sudden people were getting really scared when I started showing all this other stuff. Um, so if this is your weekly take home, oh, this is the weekly gross. I'm sorry. So this is the gross. We're going to figure out the net per week for you. So 384 and 30 cents a week. Now, if we take basically that almost 25% of taxes for the federal, state, local, Medicare, and Social Security out of 384.30, that comes out to, I'm subtracting this, remember, $86.08. 8. Again, that's pretty close on, and that's every week, every paycheck that you get if you're getting paid every week. Again, most places are going to be bi-weekly, so every other week is usually a bi-month. No, it's usually going to get paid twice a month, usually, but I'm just doing this by the week again to make it easier. So if you make 384.30 a week, your taxes are roughly going to be 86.08 a week. So that comes out to $298.22 a week. You started at 384. You're going home with 298. And that's going to change the monthly from the 1500 to the 1192.88. So 298 22 times 4 is $1,192.88. This is really what we're going with here. And I'll even double check something here super quick. Pardon me. Just real fast. I'm going to double check something. Again, this is all just the averages. Okay, so let me write that down. No pen. So again, I'm going back and using the 1500, 1537. Was it 20? Yeah, 1537.20. And I took out the 22.4% from that. 20 minus, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Yep, I rounded, so that'll be it. So yeah, even for what I did with the sort of separate mass here, it still comes out to 1,192. All right, here we go with kind of part 2 here. So where am I? I can get rid of that. Okay, here's where it's going to get really fun. So let me get rid of some of this. And again, this isn't going to be the exact gospel thing for everyone. I'm using averages. I'm using just sort of other data for stuff and everything like that. This isn't going to be exactly for you or for everyone. This is just kind of a get used to how to think about this and what to look at. Be like, oh man, I'm making this a month, everything else like that. Did you take in taxes? Did you take in all this other stuff? And this is how this is how you start thinking about that. Where's my guy? Here we are. All right, so I'm going to use $1,192.88 for the baseline. Now remember, this is now the net, not gross, the net monthly sort of thing. So, and then some people might budget check to check, whether it's every week or whether the other week. Like I was like, all right, well, I make whatever little bit that I make. So I kind of have to take my rent out of the first check of the month, and then I have to pay my bills all out of the other ones, and I have to be on it because stuff is due at certain times. And if you're not getting if it's due the 16th and you're paying it the 17th, you're getting a late fee on it. That's the way it goes with it. So I got to, I have tried to set up different things to schedule it where my bills are, technically later in the month. It doesn't always work out like that. Some of them are still going to be charged earlier, and I get charged a little bit late because I can't take the money out of my first check because there's so much of that has to go to rent that I still need to pay for gas, I still need to pay for food, and still need to pay for something else. I forgot to mention this. I was going to mention this when I talked about rent. So because we're renting, I'm not putting in stuff like needing to pay for snow removal. I'm not putting in things like having to pay to get your rubbish picked up, so the garbage or anything else like that. I'm not putting in property taxes. I'm not also going to put in homeowners association dues or fees, which if you lived in a gated community or sometimes condos, you have to pay all that on top of that too. I'm not putting that in. I'll leave out water as well because there's some things you got to pay for water. I have it written down, but you know what? I won't put water down for it. But it might be some places that you still have to pay for it. I've lived in some places, including the place I live now, where you're not paying the water per month or per year, but they might charge you for water. I lived in one place where they would not have charged us any water at all, except that I had a washer and dryer. So because I had a washer and dryer, they charged water because that would be over and above the sort of average sort of use for that. Okay, so this is your monthly sort of guy. I'm going to be nice, and we'll say that we won't go with the sort of average rent, which would be about maybe 800 a month. We're going to go with a little bit less. In fact, I'll go with a little bit less than the one I found too. We'll say you got a little one-bedroom apartment for 670 a month. That's what you find. It looks cool. It's in a nice area. You kind of like it. Okay. So, what do we have to think about now if we're living on our own besides your rent? Well, think about your utilities, transportation, things like that. Your groceries and essentials. Essentials, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, dish soap. I'm also going to leave out having any pets. So I'm not counting pets on here too. Those are also additional things besides vets. You still got to pay for food and shampoo and all that other stuff too. So I'm leaving a lot of stuff out here. So we got now there might be some places you can look this in. There are some places that will say utilities included. So you might be paying $900 a month, but your utilities are included. There might be some places that it's 800 a month, but your gas is included, so your heating, not only for the heat in the place, but probably for your water, maybe your stove. There are some places that it's only electric. They don't have any gas in there. It's all electric. So your heating for your house, the stove, the water is all electric heat. So those are stuff to look at and everything as well. But if we just go by kind of, ooh, that was my knee. I don't know if you heard it. It's going to go kind of normal. So you're going to have, so that's rent. So we have electric, got gas. Now we're gonna go with RTA. We're gonna say it where you don't have a car. Uh, whether and those might be different things. Whether you had people co-sign on it to help you buy from a dealership used, or you know a guy and they got you a good deal or something along those lines. I was going to go RTA, and part of the reason for that is because you also won't have to, being 18, you're not going to have to worry or think about insurance initially. Now, that might depend upon whomever you work out with, because you cannot get insurance for yourself, for car insurance for yourself, if you're under like 25, 26. And part of the reason for that is an actual physical development part of the brain, because the brain isn't physically considered to be a developed adult brain to about 25, 26. So you can't get insurance on that. Now, you might have a parent or guardian or friend or someone who is like, look, I'll put you on my insurance. Get me, give me $60, $70 a month or whatever it's going to be to cover that, and I'll just put you on my insurance. Some people might be cool and just be like, I'll just have you on my insurance. Don't worry about it. I don't know how that's going to work. Work that out for yourself. Right now, all we're going to talk about is just RTA, so the public transportation, the buses, the rapid, things like that. So I'll just put RTA up there. So I'm going to assume, I feel fairly safe in assuming this, that you're going to want internet in your house. Actually, that's a pretty standard, it's a utility anymore. It can't just be like a luxury. It's kind of got to be utility. So we're going to say internet, but I'm going to put cable separately. Internet and cable. And so that's going to also need your mobile phone. I feel safe in inferring that you're going to want to have a mobile phone bill. And with that too, let me see, I got a lot of numbers and a lot of things on here. Okay, I took out the water, so we don't need that. Took out that. So I think the average, again, I was looking at some averages and things along those lines. I think the average salary for someone in Ohio is $24K a year, $24,000 a year. That's about $6,000 less than you were making with having this be your monthly thing. So automatically there, you're going to be down from the average anyway. Something to think about too with gas and electric, something you're going to have to really pay attention to, is we live in Ohio, and Ohio has seasons. So your electric bill is going to change on the seasons, and so is your gas. You're not going to need as much gas in the summer as in the winter. So your gas bill for the summer, you might have 3-4 months where you're paying $20 to $40. January, February comes around, that bill might be $240. Now your electric bill might be, it depends, if it's nice out and you don't have, if you have an air conditioner unit or it's nice enough to have central air, but it's only like 65, 70 out. It's the, sun goes down 8, 9 o'clock at night, so you don't need to turn on as many lights for as long, and you don't have your air conditioner on or something like that. That electric bill might be pretty low too. Now all of a sudden you add an air conditioner, that electric bill is going to go boom, way up. Central air, air conditioner, something like that, that's shooting your electric bill way the crap up. You want to have a big old nice TV, big nice TV, that electric bill is going up. You want a big nice TV in the front room and you want a big nice TV in your bedroom and they're on all the time, or at least one is on all the time, as long as you're home, your electric bill is going to go up. You got lights on all the time because you didn't learn that even if you're not in a room, you don't need a light on in it. So you have your lights on in the bedroom, the lights on in the bathroom, the light on in the front room as you got the TV going and your whatever video game thing and laptop and phone and tablet all charging, your electric bill is going up. All that is electric bill going up. So I'm not going to do the minutia math with all the kilowatt hours and all the stuff like that. But you got to think about the fact that your bill for electric and gas now is not going to be consistent throughout the year. Now, there are, especially on these essential utilities, these won't be considered essential utilities. None of them. No matter how much you might need internet or your mobile, they're not going to be seen as essential utilities. Gas and electric are. Those are the things that you're going to need to focus on to begin with to go. They might have payment options and payment plans if you're going through the service providers. Now you are responsible for telling them that that's what you need. You can't just stop paying bills or only pay a little bit and expect them to then call you or come to your house and be like, we noticed you had some problems with this. What can we do to bend over backwards to make everything better for you? They don't care. All of these things, your landlord, probably the people you work for, your landlord, the electric company, the gas company, RTA, or wherever you're paying, or the bank if you're paying a car loan, your internet provider, your cable provider, your mobile phone providers, they don't care about you. They don't care if you're having trouble with it. If you're not paying your bill, they're going to cut it off. They're going to cut your service off. It is not their responsibility. Your landlord or any of these providers, it is not their responsibility to hunt you down and get you to do what you agreed to do. So whatever you might be used to from mommy and daddy or school or some of these other places, done. This is the adult world. They don't care if you don't feel like paying it. They don't care if you didn't bother to get off the couch or the bed long enough to go and do what you had to do to be able to get the money to pay them. They don't care about any of that. None of that matters. So whatever you might be used to for flubbing through things is gone at this point in time. You live on your own, you're paying utilities, you're paying it. And unless you work with these providers for some sort of payment option or plan, they might have it where, your gas bill in this place in February is often $250. But in July, August, it might be $35. So what they might do is they might take like an average or be able to work on what that might be. So all through the year, your bill will be, say, $65 or $80 or something like that. So while you're paying 2 times or something more in January or in July or August than you're not getting hit with a $250 bill in January. So this is a way that you can help solidify and make your budget consistent. But you are responsible for talking to the electric or gas company in order to set that up. It might not be just an email that you can put out. You might actually have to physically either talk on the phone or go into a place and physically talk to somebody about getting that done. And then you will be responsible for following up on any of that stuff. They're not going to follow up with you. So if you're supposed to be, you have an appointment to talk to someone at maybe your bank or the gas company to set this up, but you didn't feel like getting there at that time, they're not going to send you emails. They're not going to send you other links. They're not going to hound you. They're not going to call you. If you missed it, you missed it. Tough. Here's your bill. You better pay it. Because if you don't pay it over time and it gets to a certain amount of thing, that goes to a collection company. Collection companies buy debt from other places. And then they charge you much more interest. So while you might have been able to pay the thing if you had done the payment option, the payment plan throughout the year, now all of a sudden, say you racked up a $2,000 electric bill. You're not paying $2,000 at that point in time. You're probably paying maybe $2,500, maybe $2,250, something like that. That's $2,250 because they're going to ramp up the payment because the way they get money is by the interest. They pay money to the utilities or the credit card companies. Credit cards are huge with this too, or school loans. And then there's these predatory places that will buy that debt. So these other places are getting their money, and then these places, these credit places will get money because they're charging you. You know, if your debt's $1,000, you might end up over time paying them $1,500 or 1,250. So instead of paying the $1,000, you're paying $1,000 and another $250. So you have to be responsible for taking care of this stuff. So let's just go on some averages, shall we? Average. Now I'm going to lowball some of these here. I'm going to take some money off of this. So average, again, in Ohio, so it's going to be different, so things are going to be skewed. It might not be exactly this where you are. Average for electric, we'll say 114. Well, gas, we'll say 135. RTA, now what I'm doing, because this is our monthly budget, I'm going to go with the monthly RTA thing. So they have a weekly one, which covers 7 days, which is $25, or a monthly plan, which is $95. You have a savings of an average 4-week month of $5. All right, so where do I have that? Internet might be, we'll say $50. Again, I'm shooting low on this. We'll just make some of the numbers easier for me. We'll say internet's 50, cable's 100, and your mobile phone, maybe your phone's already paid off, so your mobile thing is $80. Okay? So this is all the stuff you got to pay for. Say that's average for the month. So your rent at $670, plus $114 for electric, plus $135 for your gas. Just those essentials, just to live in that at that point in time alone, for a month, $919. Okay? So, these are the sort of, I guess, less essential, for lack of a better description. Now, you're doing this all by yourself. You don't have any roommates. You don't have any pets. This is just you. So 95 plus 50 plus 100 plus 80 is $325. 325. See where I'm going with this? It almost looks like a competition. Now, your essentials plus the other stuff, $919 plus 325 is $1,244. This is me rounding down and being nice. So let's look at this here. The bigger number is here. We'll round up to 193. Well, again, we'll just make this easier. We'll go to 193. So 193 minus. I'm going to put that away because I want to have the big fun with this here. So what did I say? 1,244 minus 1193. Oh, darn, I can't do that. It doesn't come up. Stupid marker. Negative $51. Negative $51. That means you're paying money you don't have. Now, if you notice something, What is not on here that I mentioned earlier? Groceries and essentials. So your groceries, all your food. I'll count in, all right, going out, be like, I can't, I got home late or something like that. I didn't get a chance to go to the grocery store. Screw it. I'm getting Chipotle for dinner because it's right there, sort of things or anything like that. There's no groceries on this list. There's no essentials like dish soap, body soap, hand soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, toilet paper, paper towels. And I'm just assuming that you have all your furniture. So you have a couch or couches, or chairs or whatever. If you need a table, I'm assuming you have a bed. I'm assuming you have a dresser. Assuming you have like maybe a coffee table. I'm assuming you have towels, washcloths, things like that. I'm assuming that you have bed sheets, fitted sheets for the bed. I'm assuming you have pillows and pillowcases and blankets. I'm assuming that you have plates and bowls and cups and silverware. I'm assuming that you have pots and pans and other utensils for cooking. I'm assuming you already have a microwave. I'm assuming you have all that other stuff. Maybe even you're fancy and someone gave you a Keurig because you like your coffee or something like that. I'll just assume you have that. I'm assuming that the apartment that you're in has a refrigerator, has a stove, oven, probably a combination. I'm not bringing in anything else into whether or not you have your own washer and dryer or you need to get money to go to a laundromat whenever you have no clean clothes left, or however you want a routine washing up. If you can, just as a side note, if you can somehow or some way get a washer and dryer, oh my, it is so much easier and so much better. I'm not even talking about just the fact that you're saving tons of money about going to a laundromat. Laundromats are awful. Anyway, I hated going to laundromats. But without any of that, and that's also not counting that you're a human being and you'll have stuff you want to do. You maybe have friends or family that you want to go hang out with. There will be birthdays, holidays. The winter holidays are big in terms of gift giving. People's birthdays. Maybe you've got little nieces or nephews you really want to buy something for. That's also not counting the fact that, again, you're a human being and you're going to maybe like, hey, what would be cool? That book, well, it's me, that book, that movie, going to that movie. I'm assuming also that you have clothes, underwear, socks, that you have weather appropriate coats and hats and gloves and scarves and all that, like all that other stuff. And I'm assuming that you will never ever have to buy anything else different of that ever again. Without any of that, you're already negative $51 in. Now, there are some things that you can do to help that. There might be ways for you to bundle your internet and cable. Or it might be just as TV now because it's all sort of digital. So it might just be, cable digital bundles. I'm not putting in the fact that I'm leaving out having a home phone. I'm using the mobile phone is taking the place as a home phone. I haven't had a home phone in I don't know how long because everyone, my roommates and I, or my ex and I, we all have mobile phones. So what do we need a home phone for? It saves me a ton of money. So you might be able to bundle these. So this together might be maybe $80. Okay? So if it's $80 instead of $150, that's you're saving $70. So we put that together. So boom boom. So this will be 80, we'll say, and that's being super nice. 80, 89 or so if you go on like the Spectrum website is what you see, and they'll say, and be careful of this when you're looking up stuff, starting at. That is the absolute baseline. They are not putting in the fact that, oh, maybe you have to pay for the person to come out and set it up. They're not putting in, okay, well, we're going to put in fees because you have our router. If you have our router, if you have our cable box or any of this other stuff, we're going to charge you fees for that as well. This is not counting taxes. This is not counting the other 50,000 million other things that places will charge you extra for this. So in reality, this starting at $80, $89 is really going to be probably about 160 for that together. But let's be nice and say that, you're saving the so that. So now you're at, drum roll please, positive $19. That one thing has helped you save some money. Again, in the absolute wonderful, pure world that does not exist when it comes to any of these people, and especially if you're going to talk about scumlords like Spectrum Internet or the Spectrum thing. I know I'm sort of kind of going off script here a little bit. I'm sort of pontificating. But yeah, Spectrum's awful. I didn't think anyone could be worse than Time Warner, but Spectrum takes the cake. So now you have $19. You have $19 at best for food, for entertainment, for emergencies, for clothes, replacing towels or bed linens or anything else like that. Or if you need to get, I had an accident. I was trying to, I've tried to cook Lakota style fry bread a couple times and failed miserably each time. I mean, I have hit both polarities of how bad you could possibly screw up making that, with the exception of setting something on fire. But say you try to do something, maybe you got parents coming over or friends, you want to do something nice, and you're going to try and cook something with this $19 that you don't have really, and you accidentally catch one of your pans on fire, ruins it. So now you have to buy a new pan with $19 a month laid over. So nowhere on this list are video games or subscriptions to things like Fortnite or World of Warcraft or any of the other garbage like that. There's no this is not counting any subscriptions to anything. Not Spotify, YouTube Premium. This isn't talking about now if you want Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, or if you have the Disney Plus Hulu bundle. This isn't counting, was it CBS All Access, HBO Max? You got to pay extra for those. But you got $19 left over. Unless you're using someone else's accounts. But $19 left over isn't going to get you a video game. You're barely a third there if you're buying something new. I don't know what these other subscription things for like Fortnite or World of Warcraft or any of the other whatever fad. And I might have a whole other line about a junk about fads later on. But whatever fad you might think is absolutely your whole life right now, it's not counting any subscriptions for that. But this is stuff you got to think about. This is stuff you got to look at. This is how you got to start paying attention to budgeting. We're talking, and some of this is a little bit of a scare tactic sort of thing. Some of this is to make you really take a look at what it is that you want, how bad you want it, and what is worth what to you. Again, this is by yourself. You might be able to pull this off a little bit better. You got a roommate or two. I've been living on my own for a long time now. The first, not half anymore, but out of I spent like 16 years. I had two other roommates for half of that time, and I was living with my ex for half of that time. So I had 16 years where I was living with other people. I was living with my ex. I was still the one footing the thing because there's a lot of other stuff going on. So for those other years, those first 8 years, I had other people helping out with stuff and putting stuff in there too. And there was some things I kind of took on a little bit extra just because I felt like I should. The other 8 years, I was paying for two people, and then eventually two other animals too. You know, we found a place that we could do that with, and it was like, okay, well, I had to do this, or I can't do that, or I have to cut off doing this. I got rid of cable. I got cable back a little bit later, and then I cut it off again because I'm like, I don't really use it, and I'm getting charged all this money every month for a service I don't use. So maybe you get rid of cable altogether and just keep your internet. That's another, 20, $30 that maybe you're saving on that too. Again, not counting taxes and fees and all that other stuff because they will find any way they can to budge that price they're charging you up. So it might be, oh, your internet starts at $50 or $59.99. Your actual bill might be $75, $80 when it comes down to it. Rental this and charge that and fee this, and every year we're going to put an extra $100 we charge you for something else. Got to pay attention to that. What's worth it to you? Are you just going to go, hey, this first place that I found is, the 670. I'm just going to go there. I really like it. That's what's going to do. First place you look at, you just happen to like it. It's 670. That's what you're going to go at. Okay. Well, maybe there's a place down the street, maybe not as cool. Maybe, I'm not saying it's dangerous, but maybe it's not as cool. Maybe it's not as nice. Maybe this 670 place has a dishwasher, which would be lovely. But there's the place down the street, which is maybe 600 or 625, doesn't have a dishwasher, but you're still saving like $50 a month. Suck it up, wash your dishes. Save you some money. You know? So, and maybe the 670 place has no washer and dryer and tells you you can't have a washer and dryer, but the 625 place says you can't have a washer and dryer, but we have one on site. And if you're lucky, I had this in one place I lived at too. I was lucky that it was it was a little bit cheaper than going to the laundromat. Since they were older machines, it was like 75 cents for a load of wash instead of a buck 50 or something like that. However, I don't remember the prices with that now. When the time came, I when I was working construction, these houses we were working out of, were getting rid of their washer and dryer. Wonderful washer and dryer, only a couple years old, really good shape. They spent money on it. They're like, you know anyone that needs this? I'm like, I need it. And because I had worked on, we had done a lot of work for them over a couple year period, we'd all gotten to know each other pretty good. They shot me a really nice deal. And one of my roommates was like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna, he took his stuff to his parents' house every week. My other roommate and I were like, heck yeah, we'll do this. We're gonna get like a couple-year-old, really nice washer and dryer for however. I mean, it was. We got a mega discount on it. We went halves on it. Bam, washer and dryer. We could save that money then too. But again, I had roommates, so some of that money I could save. Some of that money I could save, and it helped having that because then, if I was dating someone, or even if I wasn't dating someone, it was just my roommates and I, we wanted to go see a movie. Hey, this movie came out, it's cool, let's go see it. Okay. Or one of them was, oh, Revenge of the Sith or something like that. I think that was out then. You're like, all right, we're gonna go see this, or Kill Bill, or one of these other things, because we had the ability. Even though none of us were making that great money, because we were mostly working at Borders. I was also there was a huge point of time where I was working at Borders and I was working construction, and I was making a little bit extra teaching Tai Chi at Fitworks. I had 3 jobs at one time to be able to help with stuff. But I also had a car, so I had to pay eventually insurance, had to pay for gas, had to pay for oil changes that you need to do regularly, had to pay for repairs, all that other stuff. Sometimes you need new tires, you need new brakes. You got to get the exhaust system fixed. And I would have this a lot where I would save a bunch of money in my savings. I'm like, man, I got like $1,100, $1,200 in savings. Bam, $600, $700 in my car right there. Something would happen. I had to pay a couple hundred, a few $100 on my car. And it was like, November. So now I'm paying not only $700 on my car, but now I'm using whatever is left in that thing because I'm getting Christmas presents now or something like that too. So you got to pay attention to that stuff. It's almost like if we talked about we're shopping, where it was like, oh, this 32-ounce thing is $6.99, but these 20-ounce things of the same thing is $4.99. But if I buy two of those, that is going to save me money over buying one of the 32 ounce. So you have to figure out how it's going to work out over time. But this is stuff. This is what you have to look at for a budget. This is what you got to start thinking about. If you have you got to start with what the bigger thing is with your job. Okay, I got a job, and that's paying me what amount? What can I afford? I can't afford a two-bedroom apartment, in a fancy part of Lakewood, and anything like that. I gotta get the efficiency apartment in Birdtown that doesn't even have parking at the building. I gotta be one of the billion people that's got to figure out some crazy way to park on the street, which is going to be fun when I got to bring home groceries, a big thing of water and everything else. But if I want to live on my own, this is my best option for it, because that's $750. This is $550. I don't like it as much, but I'm saving $200 extra a month that can be used for all the other stuff, my car, my insurance, everything else. So this is sort of intro to budgeting, figuring out how things are going to work and where and why and what you really need versus what you want versus what's necessary and everything else like that. There might be some months if you have a car, maybe you got to, 2, 3 months straight where you're only, depending upon how far you drive or anything like that, maybe you're spending $95 for 3 months on your car just for gas, not insurance or anything else, just for gas. You're like, well, why do I need that? Well, why do I need an RTA if I'm only spending this much on gas? Well, again, you have oil changes. You have maintenance. You're going to, every couple of years or, every year, 2 years or so, you're going to need new tires. Your brakes are going to wear down. The exhaust system is going to mess up. Hopefully your transmission doesn't go. Now we got all sorts of crazy stuff. You might start having wiring or computer glitch problems in your not apartment, not computer, in your car as well. This isn't counting getting a laptop. This is assuming you already have a computer and a laptop as well. So this is how you budget. That's how you take look at stuff and everything like that. What are the averages? And you can talk to people too. Like, if you're looking at an apartment or something, ask them, what about our people are paying a month for internet? What about our people are paying for electric or gas? Things along those lines. If you run into people and be like, hey, I'm thinking about moving in here. Is it worth it? Is it cool? Again, what are you paying for gas or electric or something like that? That might be too forward. You can be just like, man, is like gas and electric all right here? Or since this is an old building, is like the gas bill insane because the windows aren't insulated right because the building's 100 years old and the windows are still the original windows from 100 years ago, so they're not insulated well. And the glass is not efficiency glass or anything like that. Stuff. I look for stuff like that. I sometimes I wish I would have looked a little bit harder at some of the things in the place I'm living in now. Some of the other stuff worked, but there were some things that maybe I should have looked a little more closely at, or anyway. But then again, you're also, if you are having roommates and stuff too, you got to take into account what they want. They might think something's awesome. You might not like it. How you got to figure out how that's going to work. So, budgeting 101, looking at things kind of as they are, being careful how you spend, being careful where you spend what you spend, and what is this worth it. And remember, you have some things that you're going to need to pay over other stuff. If you're going to live on your own, your gas and electric and your rent has to take precedence over stuff like, yeah, a video game. Has to take precedent over, hey, the new movie I want to see is going to come out. But if I go to that, man, I don't know how I'm going to make my gas bill this month because it's February and we've had 2 days in a row where the wind chill was like -20. So my gas bill is going to be higher. So I don't know if I can go to this. Versus like, hey, everyone, we want to go see this movie. We're going to go, 7, 8 o'clock at night. It was like, can we do like 4 o'clock on Sunday? It's like, no one can. Well, you might go see it at 4 o'clock on Sunday. Everyone else is going to see it, Friday night because, you're saving 10, $15 if you go on a matinee. So this is, be careful of that stuff. What do you need? How do you need it? And if you are going to go roommate route, make damn sure you can trust the people that you're paying with. It's not just, oh, it's my buddy and that'll be great. Might not, because your buddy might not be looking at this the way you are. They might be still spending like they're 17 and they just got some, little summer job and mommy and daddy are still taking care of everything for them. You're trying to spend like an adult and they're not. That might happen. So you got to make sure that whomever you're around and everything you can trust as well, and that they can trust you. That they're not the ones that are acting like the adult, and you're the one still acting like some kid with mommy and daddy taking care of everything. So I hope this helps. This kind of gives you a clue about how things go. Again, I used to use this as um, like a group. This has gone a little bit longer than usual with it, but I did some more stuff with pricing and the math more than I usually do with some things. So it's you gotta think about this. So good luck, have fun, welcome to growing up.